Here are 10 off-the-shelf apple pies from your local stores, ranked from pretty good to fork-licking delicious. Jessie Lord Bakery is an old-fashioned operation based in California that supplies chains like Albertsons, without any sort of flashy packaging or notable labeling, just a simple sticker with the name on top of the plastic case to identify it as a Jessie's pie. This brand seems to fly under the radar, and under the radar applies to the experience of eating the pies too. There's nothing terrible about this pie, to be clear. It comes with a soft and agreeable crust and even top. The apple filling features nice-sized cubes of fruit too, which should impart plenty of flavor. It just doesn't. It's undeniable that Jessie Lord Bakery undoubtedly presents a pretty pie. The taste is just a little too nondescript to make this one a recommended regular purchase. Now, Jessie Lord's sweet potato pie is definitely worth trying, but as far as apples go, this one fell off the bland tree. A full-sized 8-inch apple pie from Marketside holds so much promise. Walmart's signature bakery turns out such a range of items that it's easy to overlook this fairly basic item. The caramel apple pie is usually what gets all the attention, and there may be a reason for that. When compared to the apple pies from other chains, the only place it stacks up is on the display shelf. Visually, this pie has a blonde crust that's too perfectly even to be considered realistic. It looks manufactured, plain and simple. Things get a little better on the flavor front. The apples are pleasant and cinnamon-heavy, creating a nice autumnal tone, but the texture is very chewy, as if the machine overmixed the dough. Sprouts Farmers Market advertises its stores as a pretty healthy place to shop.
With healthy around every corner and tasty on every shelf, this is that Sprouts feeling.
And it generally is, but like most places, the bakery section is always stocked to the gills with sugar-laden decadence. The store's signature label apple pie includes not one, but 2 crusts, a gourmet spin that could either scare off a traditionalist or pull in a more modern pie lover. In the end, though, the addition of that second crust can't save this lesser quality bake. It looks so enticing staring out of the cellophane window of the packaging that you assume it would be a prime selection. Despite the really nice golden color on the crust, it's essentially flavorless, and the apple pie filling is just sweet. There's little suggestion that apples even factor into the mix. Unfortunately, there's no way to know that until you have a slice on your plate. By then, it's too late to pump the brakes. Family-owned Arizona grocery chain Bashas has a solid selection of store-baked pastries, and the apple pie gets optimal space at the top of the rack. It's a popular circle too. By mid-morning, the apple pie rack gets noticeably sparse, even with plenty of blueberry and cherry pies still on the shelf. Unfortunately, the pie is a middle-of-the-road experience. The super smooth crust on top tastes as characterless as it looks. Not a great way to get started. It's a sweet surprise that the apples inside are nice and tender, and the gel is relatively light. The flavors are decently dispersed, which may redeem a bland shell because it lets your palate focus on the filling instead. It's also nice to see a smaller outlet trying to keep up with the big names in the apple pie arena, so extra marks for that. There's a whole rack of mini pies in the Walmart bakery under the dubiously truthful Freshness Guaranteed label.
You keep using the word.
It's easy to get sidelined by sexy flavors like s'mores and chocolate creme, but if you can keep your eyes on the prize and stick with the mini apples, you'll enjoy a sweet snack that gives you everything you're looking for in a box treat. The apples here are smaller slivers, floating in a pool of glaze with a bolder cinnamon flavor than you'd expect. The crust is pleasantly golden and tender too, giving a more fully baked essence than a tiny pie should have. Speaking of mini pies, those sneaky minds in the Fry's grocery marketing department keep a strategic stack of their own in-house brand of mini pies right next to the full-sized bakes. Sure, you could grab one of those big pies, but the minis are right there. You could be snacking before you even get home. And although they have an impressively wide selection of flavors for their mini pies, we're talking about apple here. And at Fry's, that's the one that makes you want to say,
"Shut up and take my money!"
For such a small pie, there are surprisingly large chunks of apples present. The flavor is subtle, without too many added spices that might overwhelm the apple character. The crust is pretty standard, but there's nothing especially wrong with that. And in this case, it works perfectly. The elements come together to create a one-sitting dish that does a shockingly solid impression of its larger companions. Considering the bargain price point, this junior apple pie is a pleasant small-serving pastry that would make a great addition to your lunch bag if you need a sweet little something to help you make it through the day. The box that holds this frozen Sara Lee specialty pie brags that it uses orchard-picked apples, which is a weird brag when it comes to apples.
I don't think it means what you think it means.
Where are the rest of these pie makers picking their apples? The trash?
Let's see what we got in here. Ringo.
Setting aside the fact that their apples come from the same places everyone else on the planet gets their apples, there's probably a reason Sara Lee has always been such a popular name in pies. They're pretty good. Their regular apple pie is actually very impressive. The finished crust is still relatively pale, although the fluted edges tend to brown up nicely when you follow the cooking directions on the box. The softness of the apples does make a cut slice flatten out into a bit of a mess, though not quite as badly as their Dutch apple pie. If you aren't thrown off by getting more of a pile of cobbler on your plate than a perfect slice though, you'll you'll be happy to dig into those soft apples in a golden caramel sauce. As for the crust, it comes out of the box looking good, but once baked, it lacks a certain consistency, with some sections that firm up more than others. It makes for an imbalance in the overall texture from piece to piece. The flavor, however, is warm and somewhat nutty, exactly what it should be. The price can range from $8 upwards, depending on where you get it, making it a little pricier than some of the other options on this list. But with that extra money comes a dependably delicious pie that's easy to prepare for a more homemade feeling in your dessert. Marie Callender's offers some pretty tasty full-size pies, but we have to give kudos to their frozen mini apple pies. These stacked pot pie-sized desserts are just the right size to polish off on your own after a good meal. The box says that each one is 2 servings, but come on, who are you fooling with that? There are no leftovers here. This one bakes for about 45 minutes before the crust turns golden brown, just enough time to make sure the edge is crisp but don't burn. It can also be microwaved in about 6 minutes if you're in a hurry, which is a nice feature, but won't give you the best possible version. The crust is a little thinner than it should be, but it's also incredibly buttery and rich for a simple pastry. The apples taste like the best baked apple dish you've ever had, and when it's fresh out of the oven, it has a definite homemade sensibility, which makes sense considering Marie Callender started with a simple homemade pie recipe.
You can't go to no frozen food section without seeing Marie Callender in there. You know what she started with? A pie.
It's also a good premium option to have stashed in your freezer for special occasions. Fry's mini apple pies are good, and the full size is a whole lot more of that. As a Kroger property, Fry's food stores stock apple pies that come with a simple Bakery Fresh label. There's only one full-size traditional pie in the collection, which makes shopping simple, if a little unexciting. Not to worry though, once you have the pie on your counter, you'll be happy there weren't a ton of competing options to distract you. This is about as close as you can get to a truly classic apple pie. The flaky, unevenly browned crust makes you believe there might be real butter in the recipe. There isn't.
I can't believe it's not butter.
But we're saying you could believe it. The apples are amazing, and the gel really leans into a cinnamon and nutmeg mix. All combined, this pie has the personality of a boutique bakery pie rather than one from a chain grocery store. This is an easy win for Fry's. Not only does it taste great, but it looks homemade enough that you can get away with sliding it into a different pan and passing it off as something you baked at home. We're not saying you should, but you could. The basic formula for a classic apple pie is deceptively simple. A few apples, a flaky pastry crust, and a mix of sugar and seasoning. So how can so many brands get it wrong? Or a better question, which brand gets it perfectly right? For our money, Albertsons. The Albertsons Bakery offers an apple pie that hits all the right notes, with near-perfect flavor and consistency. It's an unassuming product in the store, just a run-of-the-mill looking pie in a plastic clamshell. But take one bite and you'll realize that it doesn't need flashy packaging. What's good here? Literally everything. The crust is buttery, and the apples are spot on, delivering the tree-fresh goodness that rings out more like cider than fruit. They're helped along by a generous chorus of cinnamon and nutmeg, cradled in a gel closer to caramel than to the usual apple pie goo. And we haven't even mentioned the sprinkle of sugar on top of the whole thing. Rounding out all the high points is the fact that Albertsons makes this pie available in half sizes. So if you aren't prepping for a bunch of people, you can save a little bit of money right off the jump. To sum it up, is the pie alone worth a trip to Albertsons? Absolutely.